The UConn men's basketball program is by far the best program in the country since 1997. Sorry, Ken Pomeroy. You're on the Hoops.
Let's get it. Let's get it. Let's get it. Let's get it. Yeah. UConn, baby. Home of the champions. Let's go.
Welcome into the Hoops Cap Pod. Let's get our show on the road. We are powered by Big East Energy on the Big East Energy Network. I'm your host, Mark Zanetto. You can find me on Twitter at Mark Zanetto CBB. Well, recently, I'm just going to put the graphic up. Ken Pomeroy put his program ratings that were updated from last year. And I want to see if you can find, at some point, we're going to do a full Big East breakdown of this and do an entire breakdown of what I've created, a new weighted ranking system for how we should be looking at programs in history. And here's what I'm talking about. So we're going to put this on the camera here. If you're listening on Apple or someplace where you don't get the video of this, this is a graphic from, not from Ken Pomeroy himself, because he does very minimal, but another content creator on Twitter. Ken Pom program ratings from 1997 to 2025. Duke is 1, Kentucky 2, Kansas 3, North Carolina 4, Arizona 5, Florida 6, Michigan State 7, UCLA 8, Texas 9, before we even get to UConn at 10, with a deserving Villanova to be higher at 11. Then Gonzaga at 12. I'm just going to read a couple more. Tennessee 13. I think the one area they got it right was dropping Indiana so low. They're at 17 because they really haven't been a relevant program in a very long time. Yeah, let's dive into this. So what am I talking about when it comes to like a weighted system? Do you guys think, if I'm talking to, because a majority of our audience is older, so whether you listen to this every day or just jumping into this late, do you think that a title from 1997 is the same as a title from 2024? I won't even talk about UConn's titles from 22, 23, 23, 24. Just last year, take Florida's title last year. Do you think Florida's what they had to go through, the gauntlet that they had to play against, the factors that go into winning a national championship? Not only do you have to have luck on your side, you have to be good. You have to navigate this new era of what we're calling transfer portal NIL era. So it's not just about how much money you spend. If it was, Duke probably would have won it all. It's not just going to be about how much money you spend. It's going to be about your roster construction, how you constantly are re-recruiting your own players, how they get tampered with. It's an entirely new era, and that's from 2022 to now. So the only teams that have transfer portal, NIL, era titles, and the Kansas one is, I'm giving Kansas a break. I know people think I'm a Kansas hater, so I'm putting Kansas in that mix. So the year after the vacated COVID title, where no one won, Kansas won. I believe Baylor has a title, and then, or not, I think Baylor's just on the cusp of before what I've been considering the transfer portal era. And so you have Kansas, you have UConn twice, and Florida. So those are the only 4 like mega titles, in my opinion. Okay, let's take it back, and I'm going to go as further back than 97. And I'll tell you what my findings were from what I've been calling the quote-unquote blue bloods of UConn, Duke, Kentucky, Kansas, North Carolina, and UCLA. And I'll tell you what my findings were of those teams here shortly. But let's talk about what I wanted to do for this rating system. For national championships, from 1939 to 1950, there was only 8 teams in that era. That's a 5-point win. You get 5 points for a national title from 1939 to 1950. So all of the, like, North Carolina has a couple of pre-tournament titles. They don't do the banners. Kansas does. There's no Helms titles in there. This is straight up NCAA tournament, 18 era, 39 to 50. You get 5 points for those wins. Less teams, right? Then in 51, they doubled. So now we're at 16 teams. Okay. those 16 team era wins from 1951 to 1974, a 23 or 24 year period, those are worth 10 points. From 75 to 1984, that was the 32 team era, so it doubled again. So now you have 20 points. From 85 to 2021, we had 64 teams. Plus, in 2021, we went to the round of the first four, so we got to 68. So those are worth 50 points. From 2022 to the present, the NIL portal era, and maybe more expansion, we'll find out. Those titles are worth a grand total of 100 points. Okay. Now, how would you weight tournament milestones? From 85 to 2021, when you started to hear the words Sweet 16, Elite 8, Final 4, blah, 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 the national runner-up and national champion, very, modest point total given away to that. If you're been in a Sweet 16 from 1985 to 2021, you get 5 points for every time you do that. Elite 8, you get 7 points. Final 4, you get 9. National runner-up, you get 12. And national champion, you get 50 points. For those from 85 to 2021. The same thing goes for the newer NIL transfer portal era from 22 to the present. Sweet 16, you get 10 points. Elite 8, you get 12. Final 4, 15. National runner-up, you get 20 points. And national champion, 100 points. So those are my main issues with how they do these systems. Because I will be completely fair and balanced on this. I have no idea what Ken Pom is doing in terms of his program ratings. But if you're going to sit here, even if we didn't come up with a new kind of rating system according to the Hoops Cap and Big East Energy Network, although not everybody at the network is in agreement with me, and it probably has something to do with the fact that they haven't won national championships or been to Final Fours, et cetera. But it definitely helps a program's case like Georgetown. Does anyone think, I'll just be honest, because I'm not a big Georgetown fan. They were my biggest rival when I was a kid. Hated Georgetown, wanted UConn to get over that mountain. Same with Syracuse before they left for the ACC. Does anyone truly believe that the Washington Huskies, formerly of the Pac-12 and now will be back with the Pac-12, have a better program than Georgetown since 1997? Or just overall? Because I know Georgetown won in 85. No one's clamoring to go to Washington. No disrespect to the other Huskies. No one's excited about just lacing it up for Texas A&M, except for the NIL money. I mean, some of these programs, and I know I'm going to get shit on because I'm just randomly choosing them. Like, does anyone think that Texas has a better program since 1997 than UConn? Even if we get away from Georgetown and me trying to play the white knight for those guys, like, does anyone think that Michigan State has a better program than UConn since 1997? Let's just go down the list, and then we'll get to the top one because they're the only one that I would consider equals to us in this modern era. No one is going to tell you that Texas has a better program than UConn in basketball. That's the first one. UCLA, same thing. You cannot put UCLA ahead of UConn in the modern era. Michigan State, one national championship. I mean, how much equity has Tom Izzo been able to gravitate in the media and in this kind of world that we live in, where he constantly gets like all of the flowers for being a coach off of one national title from the year 2000. In the year you would think that it's the year 2000 in my house with the type of programs we watch on television. But I remember those teams. Those are phenomenal. Mateen Cleaves, Morris Peterson, like they're not a better program overall than UConn. Certainly not 3 spots better. Then there's Florida. Florida you could throw up there because of the modern title they won last year. They won back-to-back in the Billy Donovan era. I don't have an issue with them being ahead of UConn, but I don't think anyone would consider their program to be better than UConn's over the last, 30-something years. It's just not. It just doesn't make sense. Especially Arizona. I just like what criteria are we using? Cool uniforms, cool people. I mean, UConn's got it all, but they also have the substance of actually winning championships. getting to Final Fours and Sweet 16s and Elite Eights. I don't care if UConn's missed the tournament 10 times since 1997. I don't even know what the number is. Maybe it is that high. Maybe it's a third of the time. But if you win 6 times in that time frame, and Arizona only has the one from, I believe, 97, that first year, is it because they beat Kentucky and that team was a really good team? Probably should have won back-to-back. Now, these next 3, you will get some delusional fan bases that will say, oh, Kansas has a much better program than UConn does since 1997. Okay. I disagree, wholeheartedly. 2008 and 2022, both modern titles. Congrats. Most people are old enough to remember them. Most people celebrate them. 2008 was a phenomenal game. 2022 was a game that they should have lost, but Hubert Davis doesn't know how to coach. And so North Carolina skated away. Same thing with North Carolina. Lots of modern titles, but I don't think you could say that they have a better program than UConn overall. You could argue that. I think you can argue with the top. UConn has to be in the top 5 here. Even if you don't put them 1, if you don't think that my rating system is fair, if you think I'm just being a homer and just trying to strike up a debate, that's fine. But as far as I'm concerned, the only adversary that is remotely close to UConn on a level that we can be at from a championship, from a moves the needle to, especially now with charismatic coaches and programs having the ability to win titles and recruit at a high level and put people in the NBA, not just one and done guys, but everyone overall. It's got to be Duke. And maybe you throw Kentucky in there because they won 1 title, but they made a lot of tournaments. They made Sweet 16s, et cetera. But Kentucky at 2 is just, it's false. Here's my weighted system, according to me, yours truly. And obviously, UConn's going to be 1 on this because I value the types of titles to understand how hard it is to win a national championship on the men's side, and then to do it in such emphatic fashion, on top of the fact that you're doing it in an era where everyone can leave at any moment. There's no accountability. You didn't have to. Donovan Clingan didn't have to stay for a second year. Tristan Newton didn't have to transfer to UConn. Steph Castle did not have to take a backseat to the players that he got recruited into. Having a guy like Cam Spencer come from Rutgers to win a national championship. The mixture of transfer talent, the ability to run offense, play defense at a high level. I know these are all Dan Hurley era moments for the last couple of years, but in all of this, I still haven't even mentioned the word Jim Calhoun, who started all of this from the ground. He is the ultimate architect of a program and a builder that is like the likes of which will never be seen again, because it's not going to be done that way before. There are some startups, and I say that in kind of a business sense, across the country. Sacramento State that's trying to get into D1, and it's a smaller market. They talk about Sacramento being like a cow town. They used to say the same thing about stores. I could see those parallels, but the difference is, if you put a bunch of money into a school, you can sprout those seeds a lot faster now. What I'm talking about is the grind early on of recruiting in Israel, getting lucky with players that you just know have something, but you're not 100% sure. It's a little different these days that you can have this, instant gratification of going to see someone, taking your phone out and being like, oh, wow, let me check this film. Then on top of that, you're gonna tell me that this team, which wasn't considered a power, which was essentially just trying to get out of the 8-9 game in the Big East, wins 4 national titles before we even get to Dan Hurley, and we throw Kevin Ollie in that mix too, because he was a steward of this franchise for a few years, albeit not great years, but he did win a national championship. 3 coaches, 6 different titles. Two coaches won multiple titles. Jim Calhoun with 3, Dan with 2, Kevin Ollie with 1. there's not another program that compares to it. It's non-existent. Duke is Coach K. I don't care what you say. And John Shire is carving his own path. Good for him. Off of Coach K's coattails. I hope it works out, but not really. Kentucky, Pitino, Calipari. Now you got Mark Pope. But they went through a whole slew of guys that were not Kentucky guys. But they had their ups and downs too. They weren't always on top. Kansas, Roy Williams to Bill Self. That seamless transition. Carolina had, the Matt Doherty, BS, but they essentially have the transition from Dean Smith to Roy Williams with that blip of guys. Now they're with Hubert, who I think they're going to actually end up moving on from at some point. I think we end up having these romanticizing of how good these teams are, how good these programs are because of the coach being there for, decades and 20, 30 years. Rate these titles, rate these years in a way that makes sense. Even if you wanted to lessen the points, like even if you gave me, okay, I see your point, Mark, but you just can't, there's no way that title from 2020 to 23 is double what it was worth in 1999. Okay, I can get with that, but there still has to be a higher rating for the, no disrespect to Jim Calhoun, and I will go to my grave saying that 99 was my favorite, most enjoyable UConn championship of all the six. But the thing that frustrates me is there's got to be some degree of difficulty added to Dan Hurley winning a title in 23-24 than Jim Calhoun's title in 99. They're both great, but Dan's was harder because, look, some of those guys are probably getting, calls for, I got a bag for you. You just, as soon as the season's over, you know how hard it is to keep guys locked in, knowing that that's what's going on behind the scenes. Didn't happen as much back in the day because if you transferred, even if you got the bag someplace else, you have to sit out. That's rough. Didn't happen. Here's my list. Big shock. UConn, number 1. Duke, number 2. Do you notice that because it's weighted for championships, and this is from 97, UConn doesn't even get their, actually they do get all their titles, but it skews towards Duke. If we did this towards 91, Duke would probably be just ahead of UConn. Then you got to add in UConn's time there. They made a lot of Sweet 16s, Elite 8s during the early 90s, leading up to winning a national championship in 99. So I'd have to do it all, but honestly, at some point I'm going to do an entire from 39 to present day and let the chips fall where they may. I don't think UConn will be 1, but it's going to be damn close because even if we skew the system where it's not 100 points or the highest points for the NIL transfer portal era, it's worth more. It just matters more. Sorry, SEC. UConn's titles matter more now than UCLA's titles in the 60s. Yeah, Kentucky. I'm sorry. Anyway, if you think this is ridiculous, I'd love to hear about it. But what's not ridiculous is if you do need assistance and you are just made a mistake, you ran a red light and you don't realize that oh shit, my license is suspended and there's a warrant out for my arrest. Well, guess what? That's what Joey Bell Bonds is for. 860-916-6747. Go check out our boy, Joey Bell Bonds, a UConn season ticket holder. Love that guy. He is the salt of the earth. Phenomenal dude. So check him out when you get a chance. We're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, it's the NBA draft tonight, and where will Liam McNeely land? We'll tell you coming up after the break. I'll be back on the Hoop Scout Pod with your boy Mark Zanetto. Wearing my Giants hat tomorrow, recording with the great, the legend Carl Banks of the New York Giants and also of the Lead Podcast and I believe Starter as well. So we're going to talk about all kinds of stuff. Big East Hoops, his partnership with Starter, and likely some NBA draft stuff. We're going to talk about who went where and whatnot. And Liam McNeely, our boy, really appreciate all that he did at UConn, battling through injuries and really trying to win a championship for UConn. Didn't come to fruition, but gave it his all. Elite basketball IQ, makes reads most 19-year-olds just don't. absolute beautiful shooting stroke, smooth, compact, NBA ready. Not just a catch and shoot guy like I've called him in the past. He can be a freight train coming downhill. Probably needs to add a little bit of lean muscle mass. Not weight. I don't want him to get thicker. I want him to just kind of like lean out. Keep working on his lateral quickness. I think he's a. I mean, God, does he not fit into the Oklahoma City, San Antonio mold right out of the gates? I know. Shout out to the Thunder and Mark Dagnall for another UConn guy for winning a championship with the Oklahoma City Thunder. I think his floor is late first round, like 22 to 30, but I think his ceiling is probably closer to where San Antonio and where Portland is picking. I don't know if this is just him essentially talking about what's the word he was using? He's like, I don't know where I'm going, but I might be going somewhere that I'll be wearing red pants. I don't know if that's or red shorts. I don't know if that's something that he is saying. Maybe that's his fit tonight, where he's wearing a red suit. I have no clue. But if we're doing a little investigative journalism around that, the only some of the teams that are in that top 20 who have a red option for shorts. You have the Heat at 20. You have the Wizards at both 6 and 18. You have the Hawks at 13, Bulls at 12, Portland at 11. Trying to think if there's any other variations. Our boy Ryan Hammer has Liam go 19 to the Brooklyn Nets. It's in Brooklyn, so that'd be kind of cool if that ended up happening. I honestly, I'm going to make a prediction. I think he's going to go. I think he's going to go 14 to San Antonio. Let's put it this way. I know it's a kind of a cop out because I know a lot of people are thinking that San Antonio is the spot for him, but there's just something to be said for when you have a program like San Antonio. I know Greg Popovich just retired. Shout out Greg Popovich. All the best El Jefe in the future. But that program doesn't stop because Pop retired. And when you have a strategy, they brought in Steph Castle because they knew, what did their GM say? When you get a UConn guy and you get a guy like that, he's coached well, he's going to play hard. And Liam McNeely takes uncommon competitiveness to this team. Very similar to Cooper Flag. Being a hard worker and having a competitive drive and having a motor like these two guys is absolutely a skill. And do you think it's easy to turn it on, or do you think it's just innate and the ability to kind of to have your mindset so dialed in that you're going to give it your all no matter what, day in, day out? That's a skill set. TJ McConnell proved that in the NBA Finals, and he was very successful. Obviously lost with Indiana, but made Game 7 was a difference maker. Now add that to the talent of a Liam McNeely or even a Cooper Flag, and that's what the NBA is looking for. So I think you go San Antonio. I think a dark horse for me is Miami, just because, again, they just love Miami, San Antonio, Oklahoma City. Those are the three. I'm going to go San Antonio is my number 1 pick. I'm going to go Miami as my 2, and 3 with Oklahoma City. There's something about those programs, and it's the reason why they're typically around when it's all said and done. And they do it with draft picks, and they do it with finding guys that fit their program. And they got it. So I'm going to give you my best Shane Gillis face and kind of just lean in here. There's no evidence to the contrary that he goes outside of or inside the 20s. I think he's going to go somewhere in the top 20. If he slips, I think he stays obviously still in the first round. And I wish him all the best. I wish his mom all the best, and all of his family. They've been great to all of us UConn fans. I'll be rooting for you tonight, buddy. And I'm excited about seeing the Brain Trust, Dan, Luke, and Kamani all there, rooting on their boy. Hey, you know what it is. Number 1 program, some would argue, of all time. You're on the Hoops Cap. We'll see you tomorrow.
Let's get it, let's get it. Let's get it, let's get it. Yeah. UConn, baby. Home of the champions. Let's go.